And I was trying to get my light to see. I don't know why this light dims down. It's not really meant for this, but I like to use it to kind of throw me a little extra light. But I am the founder of Some Foods, the maker of Some Sweets. Yes, some sweets, some sweets. That is the most spectacular sweetener I like to do. If I do say so myself, I say that because it actually helped me to kick my sugar addiction and to help me stop eating sugar. Yes, yes, indeed. And I'm also the founder of SARE Nutritional Therapy. That is stands for Sugar Addiction is Real Nutritional Therapy. That is the practice that where I would help individuals to kick their sugar addiction. I am no longer fully practicing, but I do. Um, I have a that is going to be the start of a new venture coming in 2022. Not a practice, but actually, I just I guess signed the papers or signed the lease for a new space that I'm in the process of setting up. So yay! Coming in 2022, there will be a wholesale retail showroom type location for some foods and all of the various nutrition products that I have been working on for the last 2 years, 3 years, in some cases 15 years, for products that I have been working on. Some things I'm bringing back to the market, which will probably make a lot of my customers, former customers, and still clients and customers very happy. I'm sorry, I'm playing with the lights here, so get that one back right there. Oh yeah, we got brightness going on now. Okay. Um, so that will make some people very, very happy because I am bringing back. I'm gonna switch that around. I'm bringing back something that people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. I know my battery had died one of my on one of my things, so I was like, and I need the other one for some information. So I'm not going to use that. Turn that off and I'll utilize the other one. But I have a lot of customers and former customers that were asking me to bring back. I have been asking for my skincare products, and I had a cosmetic company, in case you don't know, in the past where I made hair care and skincare products, and I stopped making those products to actually focus on some sweet and to focus on the on nutrition and health and all of that. I've since kind of taken a reassessment of everything and see that there are some issues and things that I'm very interested in as it pertains to health and nutrition, and in particular our skin health. Skin. It is our biggest organ. It is indeed an organ. It is the largest one that we all have, and we all have a huge amount of it because it covers everything. It is our outside. And it is very important that we take care of our skin as much, health is about taking care of the inside as well as the outside. And so, do want to remind us as I'm still chatting away here and doing some housekeeping, but it's very important that we take care of the inside as well as the outside, right? And so I've really been seriously contemplating because I know that there are still people I'm getting requests for my products. They can't find anything like it in the market, and I do know why. But I'm getting requests for them that still, like, I exhausted the supply that I had made and had intentionally decided that I would no longer manufacture or make that product going into this year. And so after having exhausted the supply and everything. I've kind of rethinking that, as I'm still getting those requests in. So we shall see. We shall see. But I'm reassessing that because I do know that we do have to take care of our insides as well as our outsides. So that will be good news for those people who have been utilizing the products and want to continue to use them. And that I will be uh, making those further. Yeah, let me know where you're coming from. If you're tuning in, let me know where you're watching us from. Please send me a message in chat. I'm hoping that everything is connected. Actually, I can take a look and see and make sure, because last time my Facebook was not connected, but I do see that Facebook is running here. So my YouTube is running and Twitter is running. And by the way, hello YouTube, hello Facebook, hello Twitter. Yes, so if you on YouTube, that you can find me on YouTube at SAIRNT, on Facebook at SAIRNT, or Facebook at Some Sweet Foods, Twitter at Some Sweet Foods, Instagram at Some Sweet Foods, and so yeah, so those are the places where I am connected. I'm asking everybody to go sign up, go over to TikTok if you're on TikTok, and subscribe to my channel over there. It's SAIRNT as well on TikTok, because I need 1,000 subscribers before I can actually start streaming live to TikTok. So yes, so that is that. Oh yeah, I want to remind you all to please drink 4 bottles of water per day. Get your 4 bottles in, and 4 bottles of water. Get it in. And if you don't know what your risk is for type 2 diabetes, please go over to the American Diabetes Association, that's the ADA, and take their assessment over there to know what your risk is for type 2 diabetes. Now, on to the topic for today. That is the topic for today. It is, so we're talking about vitamin D deficiency, how to know if you're vitamin D deficient. It is really super, super important. We're going to be also talking in the future about getting your rest and sleep, how important sleep is, and things like that. There is so much that goes into actually being healthy, maintaining health, and getting healthy, and losing weight, and all of that. It's not as simple. I mean, it is simple. I mean, there are things that we need to be doing and things that we are not doing. For instance, we sleep. You need sleep. We take it for granted. I know I certainly did take it for granted. And then I've just decided that, once again, because at one point in time I was like, bedtime was 10 o'clock for me, and I was not, going to go to bed later than that. So everybody, at first it was like, oh yeah, yeah, right, because I was a night owl. And then all of a sudden, like, I started falling asleep at 10 o'clock. And then it's like, I couldn't stay awake after 10 o'clock. And then, so lately again, I've been, staying awake later, and, later and later after 10. It's looking like I got a double chin there. It's like the chin thing. It's like, that's the camera angle. That's the camera angle. But anyway, so I've been staying up later and later, and I'm like, oh no, we're not doing this. We are not doing this. So I'm not staying up late like that. So I've kind of started, making myself go back to bed at 10 o'clock, even though I'm not actually falling asleep like that. But I know that I will. I'm going to start to make some tweaks and things that's going to help me to go to sleep at 10 o'clock, because that's optimal. And we will have a discussion about that. We will talk about getting your rest. It is essential. It is essential that you get your rest. Okay. So I want to let you know that Thursday we do have a special guest coming. His name is Gary Martinez Jr. Gary Martinez is going to be joining us on Thursday, and he's going to be talking to us about how diet and sugar plays a role, especially with the autism spectrum. And so he's going to be informing us and advising us on those in those areas, and on his businesses, practices, and things like that. So again, tune in on Thursday at 6:30 for Gary Martinez. All right, now on to today's topic. Signs that you are deficient in vitamin D, that you're deficient, that you're lacking vitamin D. So there's some very important information that I'd like to share with you today. So, vitamin D, it regulates your calcium levels. It's vital for healthy bones, and facilitates normal immune system function. So, you know, vitamin D supplements are very, very important. And we can get, one of the best ways that we can get vitamin D is by spending, and I told you this last week, 10 minutes in the sun. I say 20, but then again, it depends on your skin, right? So it depends on how the sun affects you, but at least try and get 10 minutes in the sun. The morning up till noon sun is the best time to try and get that. But try and get your vitamin D by just spending some time in the sun. So we're going to talk about lack of vitamin D. It's not always that obvious with us, in adults, but we're going to take a look at some signs that you might be deficient in vitamin D. One of the signs is that you might feel fatigue. And that's one of the reasons why I say it's not that easy to tell in adults, because, hey, we're busy. We got busy lives. We got, your wives, your husbands, your mothers, your fathers, you got children, their jobs, bills, all of that stuff that just kind of weighs on you. So it makes it kind of difficult to know what is exactly fatiguing you. But vitamin D deficiency is frequent and has been associated with fatigue and other unspecific symptoms, including headache, musculoskeletal pain and weakness, depression, and impaired cognitive performance. So vitamin D treatment may significantly improve fatigue in an otherwise healthy person. So that's kind of how you would know that you maybe had that deficiency. Oops, let me. One of my pages here is in the wrong spot. So let's first talk about the importance of vitamin D, because I gave you that one thing about deficiency, and I think I mentioned just a little bit about it. But vitamin D plays a role in protecting our bodies from not only osteoporosis, along with other factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, infection, and immune system disorders, as well as some cancers. So vitamin D is something that we absolutely need. And again, you need as little as 10 to 15 minutes of sunshine, 10 to 20 minutes of sunshine exposure, to get a great dose of vitamin C. So, and be intentional about going outside. So it's super, super, super important. It's critical for bone health, nerve, and muscle function. Okay, so if you're lacking it again, so you might feel fatigue if you're deficient. You might feel bone pain. I don't know what bone pain feels like. I guess I kind of do. When I was little, I remember I was, have aches in my bones. I was trying to think. I was like, I don't really know what that feels like, and I ain't trying to remember, but I do remember they called it growing pains, and I guess maybe I would associate it with think like, oh, my knees are aching. But I do remember having aches and pains in my calves and stuff. But I don't. Maybe muscle pain is what I thought I was feeling, but I don't know. But bone pain. So you might feel bone pain. Vitamin D um, influences musculoskeletal health, like we said before. So low vitamin D levels may lead to clinical manifestations, including bone pain, muscle weakness, falls, low bone mass, and fractures, with subsequent diagnosis of Malaysia, osteoporosis, and myopathy. So bone pain, and again, like I said, I don't know that I can really, if I can remember, but I remember muscle pain and muscle aches, just like, so I'm not sure, and I don't want to know what bone pain feels like, but maybe somebody out there is familiar with it, that it's not, maybe it's just something different from like aches and pains in your muscles. Maybe I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking more of, I remember having, like not cramps in my leg, but just like little aches in my leg where it just kind of ached a little bit, but they call that growth pains. So I'm not sure if that was specifically bone or muscle. So I don't, I can't really say, but whatever it is, it's painful. It sounds painful. It seems painful. And yeah, no, no, no. The third thing, you might feel muscle weakness, muscle aches, or muscle cramps. So if you're deficient in vitamin D, because vitamin D is increasingly recognized to play a role, to play an important role in normal muscle functions. So low vitamin D status is associated with an increased risk of falls, and we've said that before. Proximal weakness. Since vitamin D deficiency is very common, the signs are non-specific. So it is important to maintain a high index um, of suspicion of vitamin D deficiency. Excuse me, deficiency in patients with muscle pain, and weakness. Vitamin D, we need it, guys. Sunlight is like where we would get it. Um, Also, you might have mood changes like depression. Now, I know I mentioned like there's seasonal. I think with seasonal adaptive depression, I think that's what it's called. It's called SAD. It's what people get in the wintertime. But so you might have depression, because depression on its own, in its own right, is a disabling condition impairing all aspects of human function. But in a person with chronic medical disease, depression often makes the management of chronic illness more difficult. So recently, vitamin D has been reported in the scientific and lay press as an important factor that may help significant health that may have significant health benefits in the prevention and the treatment of many chronic illnesses. So most individuals um, that have insufficient levels of vitamin D will experience those type of issues. So will experience that depression, as well as many other mental disorders. So vitamin D, I think that might be what maybe that's some of the contributing factor as to like I said, the SAD, the depression, the seasonal adaptive depression, or something like that. Because when there's less sunlight, nights are longer, and during the season, that often happens to people in the wintertime. So, see, if you're a child, so if you have a child, if you're, children, severe lack of vitamin D causes rickets, and it shows up in children as incorrect growth patterns, weakness in muscle, again, we have that, pain in the bones, and deformities in joints. So, and although it's very rare that we have, we see people with rickets these days, but children who are deficient in vitamin D, they can also have muscle weakness or sore and painful muscles. And like I said, they called it, when I was growing up, when I would have those leg aches and pains, they would just call it growing pains. But I don't know that I was vitamin D deficient, but it's interesting, huh? Um, so what do you do if you fear that you have a vitamin D deficiency? Um, you can go to the doctor, and your doctor can order a blood test to measure your levels of vitamin D. And there are two types of tests that they can order. Let's see. The most common is it's 25 dot. Well, it's a 25 dash hydroxy vitamin D, known as 25 OHD for short. Um, for the blood test, a technician will use a needle to take blood from a vein, and you don't need to fast for it or anything, or prepare for it. And so that's one of the tests that can be ordered if you have a vitamin D deficiency. Um, Also, when we're talking about the bone pain that you may have, especially in your back, frequently getting sick with colds and other bugs, feeling tired after getting adequate sleep, all those can also be indications of vitamin D deficiency. So, and again, the test that you would get a blood test. Let's see. Oops, oops, oops. Let's see. I'm trying to find the other test. So here are some other people that might be at risk for getting vitamin D deficiency: older adults, those taking certain medications or having a history of gastrointestinal surgery, and people not exposed to sunlight regularly, people with darker skin, and those living in an area with more air pollution, because you're not going to be getting enough rays from the sun. So let's see, come on. I'm trying to find the other test. That's what I'm trying to find. So we talked about the mood disorders. Oh, whoop, whoop. There we go. There we go. Uh, nope, that's not the test. I cannot find the other test. But your doctors, just go to your doctor and find. They will tell you what the other test is that you need to take. I thought it was there in my notes. Let me bring it up. See what those tests are. So it looks like they do have some tests that are available for you that are over the counter as well. So there are two types of tests that may be ordered. The most common is the 25 hydroxy vitamin D, also known as 25 OHD for short. So that's the one that keeps coming up. So that is the most common test that they offer for that. Um, so you want to discuss that with your doctor. Again, I'm not finding the name of the other test. So, but what do you do if you have vitamin D deficiency, or you think that you might have vitamin D deficiency, or you just want to make sure that you don't have vitamin D deficiency, and so you want to try and help yourself out at home? Now, there are some tests that are available over the, that you can go to your pharmacy and ask. There are some over-the-counter type tests and things that you, when I put my foot on this, that makes the thing shake, and my computer is now freezing. But you can eat foods that are high in vitamin D. There are some foods, not a lot of foods, but there are some foods that will help you to get some vitamin D in. There are also other foods that you can eat alongside. You can do food pairings to help with the uptake of vitamin D. So that is very, very important that you do that. So as you're, trying to find a way to get more vitamin D, you're getting your you're getting your 10 to 20 minutes in the sun, and then you can also you can take a supplement. But again, before you take a supplement, let's try and get it in through your food if at all possible. So here are some foods that are high in vitamin D. So salmon is high in vitamin D. We love salmon. I mean, you should love salmon. I don't particularly like the taste of salmon. Like I said, I'll do salmon croquettes, and that'll be about what it is that I do to get salmon. But I know a lot of people really absolutely love salmon. My favorite fish is cod, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But salmon, it's a popular fatty fish, and it's a great source of vitamin D. So you can do salmon, and whether the salmon is wild or farmed, it can make a difference, because on average, wild caught salmon packs 988 IU of vitamin D per 3.5 ounce serving, or 100 gram serving size, and that is 124% of the daily value. And some studies have found that even higher levels of in wild salmon, up to 1300 IUs per serving. So as you can see, the wild caught salmon is better for you if you're trying to get in some vitamin D. Farm salmon contains 25% of that amount, And so that's about, that's still one serving of farm salmon is about 250 IUs of vitamin D, or 32% of your daily value. So as you can see, wild caught is going to give you way more. I mean, it's going to give you 124% daily value. So wild caught, versus the farmed salmon. So the other, herring and sardines. Herring is a fish that's eaten around the world, and it can be served. I don't know about this, but raw, canned, smoked, or pickled. I've always heard of pickled herring, and smoked herring. But take your chances if you wish on raw fish. I'm not recommending it, okay? But this small fish is also one of the best sources of vitamin D. A fresh Atlantic herring provides 216 IUs, or per 3.5 ounce or 100 gram servings of the fish, which is 27% of your daily value. If fresh fish isn't your thing, pickled herring is also a good source of vitamin D, providing 112 IUs per 3.5 ounce or 100 gram serving, or 14% of the daily value. So, you know, just be aware that pickling is going to contain high amounts of sodium. So if you're not trying to get a lot of salt in your diet, you would want to watch out for that. Canned sardines are a great source of vitamin D. One 3.8 ounce can contains 177 IUs, or 22% of your daily value. So, and there are other types of fatty fish that are good vitamin D sources are halibut and mackerel. They provide 384 IUs, or 360 IUs per half fillet, respectively. Now, remember when we talk about the bigger fish like the mackerel and the various types of mackerel. So if you're going to try and do this, I mean, if you're going to try and get the source through fish, I mean, I did mention this fish, but you also want to be aware that the bigger fish might also contain more mercury, because they live longer and they consume a lot more of these smaller fish that, and so they would tend to have more mercury in them. So you will want to be careful with some of the larger fish. So you just want to be aware. Now, my favorite fish is cod. And when I was looking at this and I was doing my research, I was like, I remember they used to give us cod liver oil, and that stuff is nasty. It's nasty. But cod is my favorite fish. So I just thought it was really interesting. Like, oh, maybe that's why I like cod. I don't know, cod liver oil. I was kind of used to the taste, but from the liver. But But anyway, so cod liver oil is a popular supplement, and if you don't like fish, taking cod liver oil can be key. Yeah, to obtaining certain nutrients that are unavailable in other sources. So it's an excellent source of vitamin D. At about 448 IUs per teaspoon, 4.9 milliliters. That's a teaspoon. 4.9 milliliters. It clocks in a massive 56% of the daily value. So if you just could swallow a tablespoon of that, man, because a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. So at 56, we're at 100. What is it? What's that? 112. So I mean, well, if you get a tablespoon, you don't even need to get a full tablespoon, just 2 teaspoons. But you want to put that in a tablespoon because you want to just do it in one mouthful, because you wouldn't want to do it twice. You wouldn't want to do teaspoon, swallow, teaspoon. Nope, that ain't gonna happen. Just do it one time, 1 tablespoon, right? But you don't want to do. You don't have to fill up the tablespoon. You just do the tablespoon just almost full. That'll give you your whole daily value there. So yeah, because just 1 teaspoon gives you 56% of your daily value. So you can get 2 teaspoons, you got 100% of your daily value that you need right there. So cod liver oil likewise is a fantastic source of vitamin A, with 150% of the daily value in just 1 teaspoon. And so you would, yeah, so that's so hard because vitamin A can be toxic in high amounts, so you don't want to get too much vitamin A. So while you're trying to get your while you're trying to get your cod liver oil, when you're trying to get your vitamin D up, you want to be careful of your vitamin A. So You just want to be, you want to be very careful. That's why don't go overboard with three. Get, just do two. Just try and get your vitamin D up. You want to get your vitamin D up, and then maybe once you get levels of vitamin D and you go out and you're hitting the sun for or if you get 56% of this and you go and you get 10 minutes of sunlight, that would be good. So just 1 teaspoon and some sunlight, that should do you just right to get your 100%, because you don't want to get too much vitamin A though. But so just be careful on taking too much of the cod liver oil. Like, really, like, I gotta tell you to be careful, because stuff is so nasty. It's not like you're gonna do too much of it anyway. But so just be cautious of the vitamin A. Cod liver oil. Make sure you don't take too much. It's also rich in omega-3 fatty acids, so many people are deficient in that as well. So it's a good source for that. Again, another fish, and this is the big fish, canned tuna is, we love our canned tuna. I love my tuna. I love tuna. But canned tuna packs 268 IUs of vitamin D in 3.5 ounces, or that's a 100-gram serving, which is 34% of your daily value. So it's also a good source of niacin and vitamin K. Unfortunately, remember we talked about the mercury with the big fish, and tuna is one of those big fish. You can do egg yolks. So people who don't eat fish should know that seafood is not the only source of vitamin D. Whole eggs are another good source of vitamin D, as well as a wonderfully nutritious food. So whole eggs. So while most of the protein in the egg can be found in the white, the fat and vitamins and minerals are found mostly in the yolk. It's in the yolk. So one typical egg yolk contains 37 IUs of vitamin D, and that's about 5% of your daily value. So that's one egg yolk. So vitamin D levels in egg yolk depend on the exposure, depend on the sun exposure and the vitamin D content of the chicken feed. So depending on how what the chickens were fed and how the chickens were raised. So when given the same feed, pasture raised chicken that roam outside in the sunlight produce eggs with 3 to 4 times higher levels of vitamin D. Additionally, eggs from chickens given vitamin D enriched feed may have up to 6,000 IUs per of vitamin D per yolk, and that's a whopping 7 times the daily value. So when you get in your eggs, you want to look on the outside of your eggs and see how see how the chickens were raised, and see if they can maybe even have an estimate on there and tell you whether or not their yolks are rich in vitamin D. You're going to pay more for those eggs, of course, but if it's giving you the nutrients that you need, then you would definitely want to partake with those. So what about so also mushrooms? So mushrooms are a good source of vitamin D. So mushrooms synthesize the vitamins when exposed to UV light. So mushrooms produce vitamin D2, whereas animals produce vitamin D3. Though vitamin D2 helps raise blood levels of vitamin D, it's not as effective as vitamin D3. Nonetheless, wild mushrooms are an excellent source of vitamin D2. In fact, some of the varieties can pack up to 2,300 IUs per 3.5 ounce or 100-gram serving. That's nearly 3 times the daily value. So they're out there getting all of that sun and getting plenty of vitamin D. So on the other hand, if the mushrooms are commercially grown and grown in dark conditions, they're not gonna have very much vitamin D. So some of the mushrooms have been treated with ultraviolet light, and those mushrooms can provide 130 to 450 IUs of vitamin D2 per 3.5 ounces. So there you have it. You also have fortified foods that contain vitamin D. So you could Cow's milk is often fortified with vitamin D. Soy milk is fortified with vitamin D. Orange juice has been fortified with vitamin D, and there's cereal and oatmeals that are fortified with vitamin D. And so you'll see that, for instance, cow's milk, where it's fortified with vitamin D, it'll contain about 115 to 130 IUs of vitamin D per cup, and that's about 15 to 22% of your daily value. Soy milk, around 107 to 117 IUs of vitamin D, that's about 13 to 15% of your daily value. If you drink orange juice, um, because you're lactose intolerant and you want to try and drink in your vitamin D, you could, let's see, 1 cup of fortified orange juice can give you about 100 IUs or 12% of your daily value. You try oatmeal, again, I'm going back through that. So that's 54 to 136 IUs or 17% of your daily value. So, again, vitamin D is necessary for the absorption of calcium, which plays a key role in maintaining bone strength and skeletal integrity. So enough you want to get enough of both vitamin D and calcium, as they're crucial for your bone health. So let's see. So I want to, and again, just spending those few minutes in the sun. So let's look at some food pairings really quickly for the vitamin D. Let me make sure I covered all the foods for vitamin D. I did have another. Um, I did have another. I think we got all the top ones. Do, 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 do. Yeah, 1 tablespoon of cod liver oil is going to give you 170% of your daily value, because I'm looking on another list here. So, let's see. So I think I covered everything. I covered all those. So let's look at some food pairings. So you can do some food combinations to kind of to help with your let me pull my list up here. You want to do some food pairings that's going to increase your nutrient absorption. And so let's look at some combinations here. So vitamin C. Oh, let's see here. You want to get your I just want to get the food pairings that are going to get your vitamin D and calcium. So let's see. So to get this pairing, you want to eat foods that offer vitamin D, such as salmon, tuna, egg yolks, and fortified foods like milk and non-dairy beverages like soy milk, which you already talked about that. You want to eat a variety of calcium providing foods. So the foods that you want to eat would be like collard greens, broccoli, dried figs, oranges, and dairy foods. You want to eat those in combination. You want to pair those together, because that is going to give you the great combination of um, that's going to give you your combination of vitamin D and calcium, right? And so you'd also want to try and put together foods like, let's see here, you want to put together foods that will give you a combination of all of your, fat and fat soluble vitamins. So vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. So you want to pair your foods like that. You would want to pair your foods again with the leafy greens, So vitamin K is in the leafy green veggies. Vitamin K and vitamin A are in that. You would also want to get your orange and yellow veggies and tomatoes as well. That's going to give you your vitamin A. I hope I said that at first. And then vitamin E in a variety of nuts and seeds. So you want to get them like that. So you want to pick and pair your foods together to get, oops, your vitamin D. Let me see here. My screen is, my computer's moving. Okay. So, of course, your dairy, cheese, and yogurt, they're going to be rich in both vitamin D and calcium. So, those are, the ways that you can get that together. Again, eating eggs with cheese will give you both vitamin D and calcium, right? Because, you know, it, well, I mean, listen, I'm not going for vegan stuff here, so, but, I'm, just ways that you can get that. Again, broccoli, turnip greens, with salmon and tuna and mushrooms. That's going to get you your your calcium from your veggies. So things like that. Your mushrooms with your broccoli will get you your vitamin D with your calcium for vegans. So pairing certain types of mushrooms, if you're not trying to, if you're not, also beans can have calcium as well. So you would want to try adding some beans, calcium rich beans as well. So I'm trying to give you some food pairing ideas. Mm. So that those would be some things that you could pair together. I'm trying to try. I'm only trying to find like vegan options as well, because like I just looked on the list and um, saw some bone broth, and then saw some beef liver, and it's like, okay, well that's not, vegans aren't gonna do that. Um, so always try and find some of those options as well. So bear with me as I'm trying to make sure that I have everybody covered. Just some ideas here. So going through the list of foods that are rich with vitamin D, and because like I'm seeing like like almonds and salmon and things like that. So going through my list here. What can you do with almonds and salmon? I don't know what you could do with almonds and salmon. Doesn't even make a great combination, but if you do a handful of almonds, oh, you know what? I think I saw like an, but that again, there's an almond crusted something, um, you know, like you could use the almonds as a crust to make some type of crust or batter for your um, for your salmon. So that's one way. So I'm trying to come up with some combinations here. Oh yeah, mushroom stir fry. That would be good with calcium fortified tofu for somebody that is a vegan. Yeah, so yeah, you can use the almonds instead of breadcrumbs. Yeah, so those are just some pairings. It's like I you come with, if you just look at your food, you just see what's rich in vitamin D. You want to get that, and you want to make sure that you get some calcium in there with that. Generally, if you put anything that is sort of like, we know, a milk-based type food, or again, your cruciferous vegetables, that is going to give you a great pairing to go along with your things for vitamin D. But there you have it. Those things for vitamin D. Get your sun, cheap, the freest, the cheapest way, because it's free, right? You stand in the sun 10 to 20 minutes, and again, depending on your skin, 10 to 20 minutes in the sun, and let it just shine on your face, your hands, your arms, let your whole body be exposed to the sun. Because as you can see, we just talked about mushrooms and fish that's in the wild, chicken that are pasture raised, that get lots of sun, how much vitamin D they have to be able to give you. Mushrooms that grow in the sun, how much vitamin D they have to be able to get you. So if the plants and animals can get that much, synthesize that much vitamin D, and then you ingest those foods, you eat those foods, and you can get vitamin D from it, just imagine just what you can do for yourself just by standing in the sun and getting your own vitamin D that way. Huh? Huh? Go outside. Go outside. If you got to look at your phone, if you got to look at it, take it outside and stand in the sunlight and look at the phone outside in the sunlight. 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. Just depends on what time of day you're out there in the sun, because the earlier the sun, the more of the energy that we're getting from the sun to synthesize vitamin D from. So the sun is at its most powerful for us to benefit from in the morning. We're getting those UV rays. They're stronger and more powerful in the morning than they are as the day wears on. So you want to get out there in the morning and get the sun in the morning between 10 and 2, prime time. That's the actual prime time to get that sun, right? Get that morning sun, early afternoon sun. Get that sun at that time. Yes. So, ooh, I'm looking at a yummy. Yeah. Okay. You want to look at what I'm looking at. So, okay, I'm trying to close up some of these tabs. So that is it for today. Again, if you want to get a hold of some sweet, head on over. I want to get back so I can see myself in this. If you want to get a hold of some sweet, head on over to SUMSWEET.com. Go to somesweet.com and place your order there for some sweet. If you'd like to get that, go over there. If you want to tune in to our Thursday, we have a great guest that's going to be joining us. Just want to remind you of that. If you want to get the rebroadcast of this, you can go over to the live streams are recorded on Facebook at SAIRNT and on YouTube at SAIRNT, and on Instagram at Some Sweet Foods and Twitter at Some Sweet Foods. So those are there. The rebroadcast, you'll be able to see it. It's just right there. It's recorded. It's there. If you want to just listen to the audio, this audio is going to be in archive, and then you'll be able to access that. All of our guest archives are over in our all podcasts available wherever you can wherever you watch your listen to your podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast on. So they're available there for your the podcast on all of the podcast streaming networks. And again, we have a great guest that's coming up on Thursday, bringing it up so I can just make sure that I get his name right here. That is Gary Martinez on Thursday. He's going to be joining us to talk about diet and the autism spectrum, and about how he's helping others to shift their diet and make changes in their lives. All right, that's it for today. That's all, folks. That's all she wrote for today. We're getting close toward the end of the year, to the new year. Hey, if you like this type of content, please subscribe to all my channels. Again, that's YouTube at SAIRNT, Facebook at SAIRNT, Instagram at Some Sweet Foods, Twitter at Some Sweet Foods. Go over and TikTok at SAIRNT as well. Subscribe, become a subscriber, hit the notification bell so that you know anytime when I'm going live or when I upload new videos. Because you guys know I don't like to do, not that I don't love you or anything, but I do not like editing videos. Don't like it at all. No, it's not for me. But, because I don't have time to. But anyway, until next time, thank you for joining me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time.